Hi, friends. Today we're going to do a vocabulary lesson for lesson number 5 in Journeys. It's called fair or foul. Some of these words might be completely new to you, and others might be review. You might discover that some of the words that you're familiar with are used in a different way during the story. Grab your reading notebook and a pencil so that you can copy down some definitions and answer a few questions as we go. Let's start the story. The gorgeous day provided the perfect setting for a soccer game. Nora and Jenna, the first Breakers players at the field, discussed today's opponents, the Wildcats. I heard that supposedly some of those girls are really tall, Jenna said, and last year they were undefeated. Well, it is a whole new season, said Nora. Have a little self confidence. Her pep talk was directed to herself as much as Jenna, because there was no doubt this year the Breakers were way out of their comfort zone. In your notebook, let's copy down some new vocabulary words. Gorgeous means something that stands out because it is beautiful. Opponents are people who compete against each other in a game or contest. Supposedly means thought to be true. I want you to think about these vocabulary words now. What is something that you think is gorgeous? Answer the question in your notebook and be sure to include the vocabulary word. Once you're done with that, I want you to think of a time that you played a game. Could be at school, at home, or in an organized sports league. Who were your opponents? Pause the video now and copy down the information. Back to our story. This fall, they had advanced to the junior league. Used to being the oldest players in a small league, this year the Breakers were young and in a whole new league. This year they were playing on a full-size field, and from her position on defense, Nora could see that the game would be faster and tougher. The Wildcats were not afraid to use their bodies when guarding an opponent or stealing a pass. When the halftime whistle blew, the Breakers collapsed on the grass with their water bottles. Nora let the comments spin around her. I can't believe they didn't call fouls on them. Did you see number 10? She tripped me on purpose. It isn't fair how brutal they are playing. The refs are letting them be too rough. Nora was glad when the coach chimed in. The Wildcats are not breaking any rules. You can see that we are now in a much tougher league and the competition is much stronger. The second half went much like the first. The Wildcats were constantly sweeping the ball upfield to the Breakers' goal. Despite some brilliant saves, the game ended with a score of 5-0 Wildcats. In your notebook, add this word to your vocabulary list. Brutal, something that is really tough or hard. Now think, what is something that you consider to be very brutal? Pause the video and answer the questions before returning to the story. Typically, soccer games end with the two teams lining up, slapping hands and congratulating each other on a good game. Today, Nora was embarrassed by what she saw. Many of her teammates refused to congratulate the winners, and others smeared mud on their hands so they could shove it into the hand of an unsuspecting opponent. And as they walked the line, Nora could hear her teammates saying, "Bad game," as they walked by. "That's real mature," Nora shouted at her teammates. "Traitor," someone shouted back at her. Nora grabbed her cleats and walked to the other side of the field. Coach Ortiz blew the whistle and called everyone over. After the meeting, Jenna sat next to Nora. "What did your coach say?" Nora asked. "He said we had two choices," Jenna said. "We could keep blaming our inexperience and losses on other teams, or we could decide to step it up and start getting better." "Sounds about right," said Nora. "Maybe we need to schedule an extra practice." "Yeah," said Nora. "That sounds like a plan." And the two girls headed off to find their teammates. As we wrap up our vocabulary lesson, I'd like you to open your notebook and continue writing a summary of the story Fair or Foul. Remember, somebody wanted, but, so, and then. These elements need to be present in your summary. Once you've completed your summary, think about what lesson did the players learn in this story? Make a note of what your thought is and use examples from the story to support your theme. Once you've finished your vocabulary lesson, make sure it's in your reading notebook and you bring it back to school with you the next time we meet. I hope you enjoyed our lesson.